How can you decrease the number of hours you study while at the same time learning more and achieving higher grades? How can you decrease your studying from, say, 10 hours a day to studying just 6 hours a day, but you achieve higher grades in your exams with the 6 hours a day studying rather than the 10 hours a day studying? And this is something that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently. And it all boils down to one word: efficiency. How can you make your studying as efficient as possible, to the point where there's one student studying for 6 hours and another student studying for 10 hours, but they both get the same grades in their exams? So I say this quite often on this channel: you don't need to be studying 14 hours a day every day. In fact, for 99.9% of you, you shouldn't be doing that. It's not sustainable, it's not healthy, it's not an effective long-term strategy. Again, for 99.9% of you, there is probably 0.1% of you watching this where studying 14 hours a day or more 7 days a week is the right way to go, but that's another topic for another video. And I talk more about how many hours you should be studying in the course that I'm launching on the 29th of March, the Transform Your Grades in 30 Days course. It involves 38 days of video lessons, quizzes, a workbook, a productivity planner, an inner circle private community, and personal support and guidance from myself. There's a link in the description that you can click on for more information. So what I do recommend is studying for 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. It might not seem like a lot, especially just studying for 6 hours a day, but if in those 6 hours you're firing on all cylinders, you're laser focused, you're in a complete state of flow, then that 6 hours of studying a day can often be enough to achieve phenomenal grades, to rank in the top 5% of your class, to be accepted into some of the highest ranked universities in the country. However, and it's a big however, you need to train your brain into being able to study with 100% focus for that entire 6 hours. So that means no distractions, no social media, no YouTube, no emails, no Reddit, just complete and utter focus on your studying. And I receive a lot of requests from you guys about how to do this, because it's a habit, so it can take anywhere from 3 weeks to 2 months or even longer to get there. However, I'm going to go over a few tips to help keep you in 100% state of focus to the point where you can entirely lose track of time. Like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the author of the book Flow State, wrote, "The best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing time. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile." Study at your biological peak time. So a person's biological peak time is the time that they feel the most awake and energized. So for me, it's the first couple of hours in the morning and the last couple of hours before I sleep. Everyone's biological peak time is different, and I know some people that always feel terrible in the morning, but they're by far the most productive at night time and even into the early hours of the morning. And you need to know when your biological peak time is, because it's extremely difficult to get into a flow state if you are low on energy. Work on one very specific task. To enter into a state of flow, you need to stay focused on one very specific task. It's no good switching from one task to another, because every time you do that, it takes your brain at least a good 5 or 10 minutes to regain focus and enter into a state of flow again. And normally I'll have one main task to do each day, the single most important task that needs to get done. It can take 2 hours, it can take 5 hours, but whatever it is, I do that first. And I plan that out on the day before, and I'll write it on the task list on my phone, so as soon as I wake up in the morning, I know exactly what needs to get done that day. And a lot of people think productivity is just doing a lot of things, but I don't think that's necessarily true. Productivity for me is about getting the most important tasks done, the things that will bring you closer to your overall goal, and managing to do that consistently and long term. Eliminate all external distractions. This is maybe an obvious one, but it's something that so many of us still fall victim to, including myself sometimes, because although it might seem easy and obvious to remove external distractions like our phone, or social media or YouTube when we're studying, in reality it's a surprisingly difficult thing to do, because we live in a world where we almost have to be constantly communicating with other people. But it's important to realize that it is okay to completely disconnect yourself from the world around you. In fact, if you want to reach a state of flow, it's almost necessary that you do that. Every time you get distracted from a notification on your phone, every time you open a new tab on your browser and get distracted on YouTube, it will take you further away from a flow state. Only when you can concentrate with undivided attention for at least 10-15 minutes, you can enter into a flow state. And external distractions would be a phone, any sorts of notification from social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Basically anything that can interrupt your focus. So go to a quiet environment where you're not going to have anyone distracting you, close all browser tabs, remove anything on your desk that might distract you. It should just be you, your laptop, and your study material. And what I normally do is put my phone behind my laptop so I can't see it, so out of sight, out of mind. Eliminate all internal distractions. Sometimes what is stopping you from entering a state of flow are the thoughts that are going on in your head, and this is really important. You need to be in a good mental state in order to enter a state of flow. These are internal distractions rather than external distractions and are slightly more complicated to get rid of. It could be that you're under a lot of stress or have too many things on your mind. And here are a few things that you can do. The first is journaling. Journaling can help improve your mindset, improve your mood by helping you prioritize any problems, fears, or concerns you might have. It will also track any symptoms day to day so that you can recognize triggers and learn ways to better control them. And finally, it provides an opportunity to identify any negative thoughts and behaviors. The second way to eliminate internal distractions is through meditation. So just 10 minutes of meditating a day, and 10 minutes isn't that long, can reset your mind so you can decrease the amount of procrastination you do and lead to a more productive life. Study environment. This is something that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently because over the last 2 to 3 months, I've realized actually how important my study environment is in order to enter a state of flow. Now, I know it's important. It's only recently that I've started to realize actually how important it is. So I usually work in one of two places. The first place is my office, which I'm in right now, and I use it more of a studio than an office. And I come here obviously to record these videos, and I do more concentration intensive tasks here, so tasks where I need complete silence. And the second place I work is in coffee shops. And this is what I've learned recently. There's one coffee shop that is just the right amount of background noise, has just the right amount of background music, has the perfect lighting. It's just a perfect working environment. And since I started going there to work, it's so incredibly easy to enter into a flow state. In fact, it's a 24-hour coffee shop, and sometimes I'm working there until 2 in the morning just because I'm so laser focused on what I'm doing. So yeah, recently I'm starting to realize that having the perfect study environment is super important to reach a state of flow. Background music. I'm going to cover this really quickly because I've talked about it quite a lot on this channel already, but listening to the right music can also increase your attention span. There have been a lot of research that shows that quiet classical music, especially from composers such as Mozart and Beethoven, can be really useful for this. Even just sound effects like ocean waves or the sound of rain can really help, and there's literally thousands of videos on YouTube that do exactly this. The task must be engaging. The task must be challenging enough, but not too challenging. If you want to reach flow state, the task that you are planning must challenge your brain enough for you to be completely engaged. Remember the feeling when you first start the next level of a game. It stimulates your emotions that you are so excited to upgrade your skills to overcome that level. Even when you're playing that game for hours and hours at a time, you completely lose track of time. It's probably because of 3 things. Number 1, it's fun, obviously. Number 2, it's not too difficult. And number 3, it's not too easy. And if it was too difficult or too easy, you'd probably lose interest relatively quickly. Keep practicing. Being able to study for hours at a time with complete focus takes time. At first it's really not easy to do, but the more you practice at it, the easier it becomes. Each time you fail and you get distracted, try to learn from it. What was it that distracted you? Is there a way to remove that distraction for next time so that it doesn't happen again? And equally, every time you succeed, you should also learn from it. What did you do right? And the more you practice, the better you'll get. I go into this topic in more detail on how to study less, so how to study for a few hours during the day, but still learn more through your study sessions in my Transform Your Grades in 30 Days course. As of this video, more than 1,300 people have signed up to the waiting list. There's a link in the description where you can sign up to with just your email, and you'll be in line to receive the 50% promotional launch discount. I spent literally about 8 or 9 months working on this course and really getting it perfect before I launch it, and it includes so many things, including personal guidance and support from me. So sign up below, and on the 29th of March when it goes live, you can grab yourself a 50% discount. And if you do, I look forward to working with you very shortly.